Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and having a great day as usual. This isn't a video that I really wanted to make, especially because of the circumstances, but it pretty much has to happen because of what we now know. So this was reported by a couple of different news websites, especially cryptocurrency websites on different places. But I think it's significant because this was actually reported by CNBC, and I'll get more into it as I am reading through the entire thing. So it now seems, or that we now know, that the entire reason for the decline in the price of Bitcoin, the initial decline, was because of the Bitcoin futures that were launched, along with other things that were not even seemingly coordinated. I'm pretty sure this all happened according to plan. To start off, Bitcoin's drop following its peak near $20,000 was directly tied to the launch of a futures market, according to new research from the San Francisco Federal Reserve. The rapid run-up and subsequent fall in the price after the introduction of futures does not appear to be a coincidence, for researchers say in the regional Fed bank's recent economic letter. The cryptocurrency's highest price lines up with the day the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, introduced Bitcoin futures trading. So there were a lot of people who were talking about that the futures market would be very bad for the price of Bitcoin. There were a lot of people who mentioned that because of the manipulation in the gold and silver markets that we have, that this was definitely going to happen in the futures market. The moment we had news that there would be a futures market launched, this is when Bitcoin went from around 10,000 to 20,000. There was a huge amount of excitement and hype in the market because people believed, or we all thought, as traditional investors get into the market, this is when all the big money would start to dump in and we would see higher prices, not realizing that the entire intention was to drag down the price of the cryptocurrency market. It says Bitcoin's decline following a climb to nearly $20,000 was directly tied to the launch of a futures market, according to research from the San Francisco Federal Reserve published on Monday. The rapid run-up and subsequent fall in the price after the introduction of futures does not appear to be a coincidence. It is consistent with trading behavior that typically accompanies the introduction of futures markets for an asset. Peak Bitcoin prices lined up with the day the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, introduced Bitcoin futures trading on December 17th. That same day, Bitcoin hit a high of $19,783, according to the data from CoinDesk. The Chicago-based Options Exchange, or CBOE, also opened the futures market a week earlier, but trading there was thin, the letter said. There's a little graph there. Until futures existed, it was extremely difficult, if not impossible, to bet on the decline of Bitcoin prices, the researchers said. As optimistic investors continued to bid up, the cryptocurrency rose more than 1,300% in 2017. The pessimists, meanwhile, had no financial way to back a belief that the Bitcoin price would collapse. So they were left to wait for their "I told you so" moment, the researcher said. The launch of Bitcoin futures allowed pessimists to enter the market, which contributed to the reversal of the Bitcoin price dynamics. There was a lot of talk, and I remember we all got very cocky, especially around the, I want to say, October, November time, because the price of the market was constantly going up. We had small fluctuations that went down from time to time, but the market was mainly shooting its way up, and we had tons of major investors coming forward saying that Bitcoin would fail, Bitcoin was going back to $100. And at this point, it didn't make much sense to us in our head, because we saw only a market that was going up, especially with news that we would be getting some type of traditional market tied to our cryptocurrency market. It all seemed like it was bound for glory. The part that makes me the most upset out of all of this is that we spoke about manipulation before in the market, and a lot of people said, no, it doesn't happen, it can't happen. And I was certain, even when we had news that first it was South Korea, then it was Japan, then it was Singapore, then it was Thailand, then it was Indonesia, then it was India, then it was parts of Europe, then it was North America, we had America, and then we had some other countries that all came forward talking about that they were going to ban cryptocurrencies and or ban ICOs. And I was certain that this was the reason that the market had started sliding down, because everyone was getting afraid of what was happening. And then I said in another video, I said it's very weird because we had instances before, even when China and Russia both threatened to ban cryptocurrencies in their countries, the prices moved down by maybe 4 or 5%. And it had completely recovered the day after. So it was kind of really weird to see the market continuing to slide down, and everyone was saying it was the end of the Chinese New Year. It was the end of this. There was tons of things that people were throwing out there trying to figure out exactly what was going wrong. One of the things that sticks in my head, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago as well, when we were also trying to figure out exactly why the market had completely fallen. See if I can find so first off, the first Bitcoin futures contract, this was reported by Cointelegraph on January 18th. This Bitcoin contract expired on that date, and it ended at $10,900, and it was declared a win for the bears. On that same exact day, the price of Bitcoin hit a low of, let me see if I can hit it. It was like 9,000 something. Yeah, $9,957, down from the 20,000 that we had exactly 1 month before. And everyone was like, okay, the market got too hot. Everything has to kind of, cool down a tiny bit. And then I remembered this. We spoke about this as well. A lot of the heads of finance, and I mean like the major people, and I don't want to say like older, but the people like Warren Buffett, this guy, a couple of other people, they all came forward and said that they planned on taming Bitcoin. And this was right before we had major news that the futures contracts were actually going to get started sometime in December. Long story short, this was all coordinated, and it makes me very upset that all markets are able to, to be manipulated. I kind of don't know where we go from here, because you've seen even over the last couple of days, I'm sure you have noticed as well, Bitcoin's price, it's impossible for it to get over $10,000. Everyone keeps saying that it's because of technical analysis. People keep showing charts and lines and graphs. Bitcoin's price hit $9,980 a couple of days ago, and then immediately slammed back down to $9,400. I don't know. I don't really know what to say anymore. I still believe in the market, but I'm afraid of where we are headed, as far as if we are continuing on this path and we are having more institutional investors get into the market, especially when we had news that a day or two ago, that guy, he just purchased 10,000 Bitcoin. All these other people who are purchasing large amounts of Bitcoin, exactly where the market will go from here, because not only are the futures an issue, especially because as other companies have also come forward saying that they also want to make Bitcoin futures, especially if they can just bet against the price of Bitcoin. But the price of Bitcoin is tied to every other coin through Satoshi. Every single time you see the price of another coin, it is valued in Satoshis. And if every other coin is constantly pegged to the price of Bitcoin, what happens when the price of Bitcoin is pushed down on purpose so that other people can get it, or so they can, there's been a lot of talk that people have been pushing down the price of Bitcoin simply because they want to make it seem less legitimate. If we have a coin that goes from 1,000 to 7,000 to 10,000 to 15,000 to 20,000, and then eventually hits 50,000 or $100,000 a coin, that is a huge indicator that there is potentially something wrong in the traditional markets, and that the cryptocurrency market is this new blooming industry. But what happens when you continuously push the price down and there's nothing but volatility in the market? It shows that Bitcoin is still young, it's unusable, it can't be used as a currency, which we've had tons of all these people coming forward saying over the last couple of weeks and months. And yeah, like I said, I don't really know exactly where to go from here. I'm still hopeful that at some point we find a way to not only break away from the traditional system. I'm not exactly sure how that's even going to happen now, because I'm almost certain that a lot of stuff is actually in the works in order to continue to push the price of Bitcoin down or manipulate it in some way. But the fact that we are also tied to Bitcoin, every other coin is attached to Bitcoin at the hip, and there's really no way to get around that for the near future. Not to make a depressing video, but I hope you guys know what I'm saying. Like I said, I did not want to make this video because of the topic, but I think it's very important to know because we all have money in this industry. I have to give you guys the good and the bad when it comes to things floating around the cryptocurrency market. But yeah, it was reported by the Fed that Bitcoin futures were the reason for the Bitcoin price going down, which still leads me to wonder exactly how high could we have gone if these major industry players had not bet against the price of Bitcoin, which ends up happening when you have other people who are trying to get into the cryptocurrency market, other people who have tons of money. They're not going to look for the price of Bitcoin on CoinMarketCap. They're going to look for the price of Bitcoin on the futures market because this is what they are used to. They're used to the traditional market players and market numbers. And I mean, this is kind of where the market is now. Not to end this on a low note, but this news is making the rounds right now. So I'm sure you would have heard it at some point during the day. And you heard it here first. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a great day wherever you are, wherever you might be. Let's hope that we get some type of good news over the next coming days. Let's hope that Bitcoin pushes past 10,000 or manages to break away from current future prices. And yeah, I will talk to you all soon. See you.